Good morning and welcome to Virtual Sunday School. Who knows what today is? There's a hint, as usual, behind me. It's Palm Sunday. And I am excited that we are going to do something very special today. We are going to have an in-person worship and do an in-person Palm Sunday procession, socially distanced, of course, and all safe because we're figuring things out. And we also still have virtual Sunday school. So I think it's really neat that about a year after we all started to go into our homes to keep everybody safe, that not only are we offering things now to be in person, but we also have a way to connect with you when you can't be there because sometimes we're traveling or doing other things, right? But this is a really important day. And let's get into the reading to find out why. So this is from Mark 14, verses 1 through 15 and 39. The plot to kill Jesus? It was 2 days before the Passover and the festival of the unleavened bread. The chief priests and the scribes were looking for a way to arrest Jesus by stealth and kill him. For they said, "Not during the festival, or there may be a riot among the people." While he was at Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, as he sat at the table, a woman came with an alabaster jar of very costly ointment of nard, and she broke open the jar and poured the ointment on his head. But some were there who said to one another in anger, "Why was the ointment wasted in this way? For the ointment could have been sold for more than 300 denarii and the money given to the poor." And they scolded her. But Jesus said, "Let her alone. Why do you trouble her? She has performed a good service for me. For you always have the poor with you, and you can show kindness to them whenever you wish. But you will not always have me. She has done what she could. She has anointed my body beforehand for its burial. Truly, I tell you, whenever the good news is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will be told in remembrance of her." Then Judas Iscariot, who was one of the 12, went to the chief priests in order to betray him to them. When they heard it, they were greatly pleased and promised to give him money. So he began to look for an opportunity to betray him. On the first day of unleavened bread, when the Passover lamb is sacrificed, his disciples said to him, "Where do you want us to go and make the preparations for you to eat the Passover?" So he sent 2 of his disciples, saying to them, "Go into the city, and a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him, and wherever he enters, say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks, where is my guest room, where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large room upstairs, furnished and ready. Make preparations for us there." And then verse 39, circled it here. "And again he went away and prayed, saying the same words." Wow, there was a lot going on in that passage. So, what does all of that mean? Wow. So, this is starting to tell the story of Holy Week and what was happening in the days before Jesus was on the cross. So, first of all, we hear about the woman who anointed Jesus. And this is really incredible because Most of the time, what do we hear Jesus saying? To take care of others, to treat your neighbors as you treat yourself, to give as much as you can, to have love in your heart. And so here he's anointed, and other people are mad at this woman who gave to a great cost of herself to anoint Jesus. And this time, though, Jesus is the one who had the need. Even Jesus has needs. Even Jesus needed something, and this woman gave a lot, probably everything she had, to be able to give that to him. So that was really incredible. And he also says that as we hear the good news, which we know we'll hear next Sunday on Easter, that this story would be told in remembrance of her. Usually, how many times have you been at church and we've taken communion and we hear the words, do this in remembrance of me? And Jesus is talking about remembering him. But in this story, it's about remembering her. And so I think we can take that with us forward, that sometimes we have to recognize that even the strongest, smartest, most wonderful people in our lives might be the ones with the need. And that this woman basically gave a huge cost, almost everything she had, to take care of that need for him. And she is remembered, and we are remembering her today and taking that story forward. And then we hear about somebody who Jesus trusted is the one who goes to the priests and helps them and is rewarded with money. And it leads to the rest of the story that we'll hear through Holy Week. Jesus is arrested, Jesus is put on the cross, Jesus dies, and then the good news, which we find out on Easter. So that's interesting, right? That somebody that had been listening to Jesus's stories all along chose human money over the giving of need. Well, we'll hear more about that too. But then they're also talking about preparations for the Last Supper. I think Jesus knew it was the Last Supper because he foretold of this story, and he's been foretelling of it for the last couple of verses, passages that we've been reading. But I don't think everybody else really understood it. They were going through a normal festival of Passover and the unleavened bread. And they were doing something that they had been doing for years. And so this typical celebration turned into an entirely different celebration that we've now celebrated for thousands of years. And so they're getting prepared. They're trying to find where they can go to be safe to have this celebration. But here's the super important part of this at the end. We stopped at verse 15 and went on to 39, where it talked about, and then he prayed again. We heard a little while ago, as we were going into Lent, about Jesus praying before he went into the wilderness for 40 days. And so here he is praying again. Jesus knows what's coming. He knows what's happening. He knows that it's going to be a really rough week for him. And so what does he do? He prays. Why? Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever heard of bringing your A game to something? Do you know what that means? It means that you want to give your absolute best, that you want to have the ability to have practiced, to have the strength to do your absolute best and to bring your A game to win, usually something, or to perform really well. And so Jesus recognizes that when he takes that time to pray, that he is filling himself with the ability to bring his A game to a week that turns out really, really hard for him. And it's amazing because I can't even imagine going through the week that he's about to have with being arrested and being put on the cross. It was really a terrible thing, of great suffering. And he went through it and he trudged on. And in some of his final moments, he practices what he preaches. And he says something really amazing. And we're going to hold that one until Easter. But could you imagine going through all of that without the strength to trudge on? How easy it would have been for him to give up, reach despair, or to be angry. Sometimes I've gotten angry when I've been out of energy or frustrated, but it's that prayer that he did that allows him to be filled with the strength of God and to make sure his heart stayed clean and to bring that A game into Holy Week and to go through all of these things for us, for our needs, and to have good news then next Sunday. So thank you for joining this week. And remember this week to try to take a couple of minutes to pray and to fill yourself with the strength to bring your A game. And I'll see you next week.